Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today I want to run through my personal favourite top 5 open world games. Now I'm going to say straight from the beginning, spoiler warning, this will not be a spoiler free video, so proceed at your own risk, and also this is my personal preferences on this, which obviously are factually correct and right. If you want to at me or come at me in the comments. Okay, and without further ado then, let's proceed with the video. Okay, and at number 5 we have the venerable Minecraft. Now, this is down here at number 5 because there's not much plot to it, and I really rate plot in video games, but come on, it's Minecraft. You can do anything you want. It's quite literally an unlimited world to live in, and you can literally do quite anything you want. People have built working calculators. I saw one guy who built an actual computer that worked like a logic board. It was incredible, and I just really rate this game. I must have well in excess of 200 hours, 250 hours into Minecraft, which I know by a lot of people's standards isn't much, but it is genuinely the most successful video game ever made, I believe. Sold over 200 million copies, and I can see why. It's accessible to all ages. And it's just the freedom the game gives for you to terraform, build your houses, build your dream project. So how could I not include the most successful video game of all time? It's successful for a reason, and it's my number 5 top 5 open world games because it is truly open world. But unfortunately for me personally and what I like, the lack of plot, the lack of any form of structure. Sometimes I do get a little bored in Minecraft because my creativity runs out. So I'm leaving it here at number 5. Okay, and at number 4, bit of a controversial choice, we have No Man's Sky. Now, considering I said I like plot in video games, there you go. Actually, if you haven't played this since it came out, since the disastrous launch window of this game, then there is actually some more plot in it now, which is kind of surprising. Not massively, but the game as a whole is genuinely incredible. If you enjoy space sims, which I do, on my channel I even have previous record on this, making Kerbal Space Program tutorials. It is a genuinely brilliant game these days, and they have done a lot to bring back the reputation of the developer. And much like Minecraft, it is a quite literally endless procedurally generated world. Now, when No Man's Sky first came out, they were kind of dull, the planets got kind of repetitive fairly quickly. These days, not the case. There is an extremely wide-ranging ability to generate planets that are very interesting. As you'll see from some of my footage on screen, actually, there's quite interesting flora and fauna these days, and including weather effects and whatnot. It's just a fun game to be in and explore. And another point that I should mention, why this is here, is because much like Minecraft actually, it receives free updates and is getting constant updates. I believe it's had 3 major updates this year that each one dramatically changes how the game performs in some way or another. And over the 4 or 5 years now I believe the game has been out, it's a completely different game. You know, if you're into space simulation, this is the game for you at this point, honestly. Now, there are some downsides, of course, to No Man's Sky. I do have to point out, I'm not a fan of this modern day release broken game, or with things that are missing that were promised and then fix it later that a lot of games seem to be doing these days. I'm not a fan of that. I think it's not fair on the gamer. I think it's not fair on the developers, frankly, because you hear about developer crunch all the time, but that's an issue for another video at this point. I enjoy the game. It's great if you're into space sim or just pure exploration, and there are many different ways to enjoy this game, so that's why it's at number 4. And from there, let's move on. And in at number 3 is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, I'm going to jump straight in here and say I may eventually put Valhalla here, but I'm a bit behind the times. I've only just got that game. I've only got about 20 hours into it. I'm enjoying it, but I can't make a determination yet whether it beats out Odyssey. So, just wanted to get that out of the way straight off the beginning. So, from there, let's talk about this game. Okay, so let's start with the good points. Enormous in-game world. Absurdly large in-game world, in fact. And actually, surprisingly packed with stuff to do. I mean, it covers almost the entirety of the ancient Greek world, from Kefalonia in the west all the way over to Crete and Lesbos into the east. And obviously all of mainland Greece and the Peloponnesian Peninsula as well. It's genuinely daunting when you first start this game, I found anyway, about how big the game world really was, particularly compared to previous Assassin's Creed games. It may not be quite what you're expecting. Another good example, actually, I want to bring up here is that every single island or set of islands, some islands come in like groups of 1 or 2 or 1 to 3, have their own quest line. Which, it's not just one quest or 2 quests, it's actually quite involved, and normally there'll be multiple quests going on at the same time that will all sort of eventually tie up into one storyline for only that island as side quests. And it really does give each and every island or set of islands its own identity. Makes it feel like a very unique place, not just, oh, another Greek island with Greek architecture. It really does give it its own personality, and the same can actually be said for the mainland areas as well. Corinth and Sparta and Athens, they all have them, but even the areas up north and like Macedonia all have their own individual plot lines and threads going on, which are just side quests. It's fantastic. So then let's move on to the story. The story's actually pretty good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, actually. This is where we start now moving into the less "this is an awesome game" section. The story's good. It's pretty engaging. It'll keep you going. It's fairly long. It's actually surprisingly long, to be honest, particularly with when you combine that with the enormity of the in-game world. But it was fairly straightforward, I found. And there were a couple of twists that turn up. I'm not really going to go into them. I did say I wouldn't bother about spoilers in this, but I don't want to ruin it for people. But it's fairly straightforward, and you will see most of the twists coming. It's reasonably predictable. So then comes actually the big downside of this game, and it goes back to the large map. It's absurdly large. It's too large. It takes so long to even get anywhere, particularly at the beginning of the game where you don't have your fast travel points. And honestly, a lot of the time it can feel empty because a huge portion of the map is just open ocean. And it can sometimes feel a little bit dull walking from one place to another. And also a lot of the things you can do in the map become fairly repetitive, as does the gameplay. Eventually, after 100 or so hours, becomes fairly repetitive. That's why it's down here at number 3. So from there, though, let's quickly move on to number 2, Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, disclaimer, I only actually have this game on PlayStation, so I was unable to capture any footage of it. So I just thought I'd get that out of the way straight off the bat. Now, one of the main reasons I love this game is the setting. I think it's a reason why it got a lot of hype before it came out. It's, you know, sort of Stone Age tribal warriors, bow and arrows against robotic dinosaurs shooting lasers and missiles. I mean, it's genuinely quite unique, and I thought it was quite an interesting concept. Another reason why I'm putting this at number 2 is I thought, personally anyway, it was a really interesting story with solid plot twists. Again, I'm not going to spoil too much, but the way it actually plays out with the story is quite unique. I've never really seen it enter a sort of world like that where actually the bad thing already happened. If you've played this game, you know what I mean. Another straight up reason why this is high up on my favourite list is the gameplay. I didn't really get tired of the gameplay, to be honest, in this game. Just there's constant evolution of more powerful enemies to fight against and more interesting equipment, and there are so many different ways you can play this game, from your bow and arrow to setting traps and luring enemies in, and then you have the human enemies to fight, and they all operate slightly differently. It's, as a game world to play, it's so much fun, and it never got old for me personally. But that's why we're at number 2 here with this game. It is solid gameplay, solid setting. It actually looked really good for the time. I mean, I know it's a bit dated now in a lot of ways, but it looked fantastic for the time. But yeah, great setting, great gameplay, great story. What more could you ask for? So that does bring us to the question of, what more could you ask for? What goes into number 1? What surely could be better than that? I think some of you might be already aware, actually. Anyone that's into open world games can probably guess, but for that though, I would actually like to do just a couple of honourable mentions. So first up is Breath of the Wild. I think most people would be surprised to learn that's not on this list, and the only reason so is because it's on the Switch and I don't play that much, but I love this game. It was near perfect, except there's very little plot, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I value plot quite highly, so sorry. And next up is Subnautica, and the reason that's only going in the honourable mentions is because I absolutely love this game. But it's more of a survival game, and I honestly do think it's debatable as to whether it's actually a open world game. So that's why it's here in the honourable mentions. And so, without further ado, on to number 1. And I think some of you maybe would have guessed this already, but of course it is Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, this game is genuinely, in my opinion, so close to perfect, it is unbelievable. And I do mean perfect everything about it. The gameplay is fun and engaging, and it keeps going and going and going. The game itself is near endless. It is an incredible story, and plot, for me, in these sorts of games really do matter. And normally I prefer RPGs. This is not so much an RPG, but it's such an incredible story that genuinely I thought this was going to be GTA with cowboys, but this hit me hard. It hit me like a truck. You all know what I'm talking about. And just the way the story's told as well, through an incredible cast of characters that develop and are three-dimensional. Dutch is one of the, frankly, I was going to say best gaming characters, in gaming, but I'm going to go further than that and say one of the best characters in fiction. He is such a developed character. Like, was he crazy all along, or did he develop and go crazy because of the things that happened and the head bump he sustained? But that's what I mean. I have genuinely talked about this with my friends and my wife over and over again. Which one was it? And the way the story plays out, and just how they tell it. There's so much cool music in the game. It's atmospheric, and the dialogue is incredible. It just feels so natural. And of course, let's step away from that for a second. There's something else we need to touch on, is the world, the game world. It is enormous, huge, but it never feels too huge. There's stuff going on all the time with the clever little random events that you see happening, which can be genuinely quite fun and engaging. Sometimes they can be annoying, but they keep it interesting, let's put it that way. And each individual town and area definitely feels like it's got its own personality. And all of the way the characters interact with Arthur as well, where you can greet and antagonize them and they remember and they respond depending on what you're saying through a progression of steps. It's just so immersive, I think is the word I'm looking for, and you genuinely feel like you can get lost in, the dying days of the Wild West. And that's because you can. It is a ridiculously huge map that just goes on and on and on and on. But you all know I joke. It's a brilliant game from beginning, middle, and then even the end of the game. I mean, again, spoiler warning here, said at the beginning, but I'll say it again. When you move over to start playing as John, the conclusion comes in and you have the epilogue. And I thought the epilogue would be what normal epilogues are, a couple of missions, but no, you're only sort of 75, 60, sort of 75, yeah, 3/4 of the way through the game. And it just keeps going. And then, of course, you have the fairly impressive ending mission. It is a testament to Rockstar and everyone who made this game. It is one of the most engaging and immersive experiences I have ever experienced while sat at my computer. So yeah, I'll leave it there and just tip my cap at the fact that Rockstar were able to produce what is, quite frankly, in my opinion, one of the most perfect gaming experiences that has ever been made, with only real nitpicky sort of complaints going on. And it really is just nitpicky stuff about the user interface and whatnot. Sometimes it can be a bit glitchy, but other than that, that is it. I mean, that's how low I have to stoop to be able to criticise this game. But for now, that'll be it from me, guys. Those are my top 5 open world games. I am aware that there are some releases, such as The Witcher Wild 3 and whatnot, that aren't in there. But honestly, that's because I've not played it. So I can't really give you my opinion, even though I know it's supposed to be really good. But until next time, I will leave you with this beautiful image of me riding off into the sunset to enjoy some more games. If you've got this far, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. I am such a new channel, and to the ones who are already doing that, thank you so much. It means the world to me. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and stay safe.